Our story today will teach us the true meaning of this phrase. The test will show us how deep the human soul is. It is a soul that nothing can satisfy. To what extent do some people go just to achieve their desires? Especially if those desires are as evil as they are. Sometimes they are treacherous. They film everything. And when told don't film this is wrong, they persist and say we will do it, even if it is wrong. The result is hideous, and sometimes uglier than you can imagine. I don't want to spoil the story for you, so stay tuned. Even though I know many of you are holding your phones right now, come with me to see what happened in our story. Our story took place in the Arab Republic of Egypt, specifically in the year 2018. In the city of Giza, specifically in a place called Al-Warraq in northern Giza, and another called Al-Munira in southern Giza. Reports began to surface about the discovery of human remains found in black bags and trash bags. The one who started the reports was a sanitation worker. While doing his job, he found human remains and immediately went to the police to report what he had seen. When the police arrived, they could not identify who the remains belonged to, especially since there were many missing person reports at that time. They didn't know if the parts belonged to just one person or several people. They were able to confirm that some of the parts belonged to one individual whose body had been dismembered and scattered in different locations. The police distributed the gathered remains. Some were found in northern Giza and others in the south. The situation became very confusing, because once they assembled the parts they had found, they realized they belonged to more than just one person. Some parts were still missing and could not be found. But the investigation continued to uncover the full truth. Everything was happening in a second location called Al-Manib, specifically in the center of Giza. This area is a rural region where the residents are close-knit and know each other. But when the police forces arrived, everyone was struck with shock. The tragedy was that no one noticed what had happened at first. A person was found slaughtered and dismembered, and his death was not discovered until much later when people finally noticed. Local residents stated that he was one of the people from the neighborhood. But what occurred was beyond comprehension. Our topic is not just that someone died. The core of the story is how people reacted. When security forces received a report about a black bag lying somewhere, they initially thought it was just regular trash. But as they got closer, they noticed a very foul odor. When they opened the bag, they found human remains inside. The police immediately cordoned off the area while the neighbors were in total shock. They didn't know who had placed the bag there, but they began examining the body, parts one by one to identify the person and determine how it all happened. What were the missing parts from the body they found? They were the head, the arms, and the legs. Imagine, the forensic team expected to find a complete body, but instead, they encountered scattered, dismembered parts. Subhanallah, if God wills for something to be revealed or for a secret to come to light, the criminal will fall into their own trap even if they think they are hidden. God decreed that what happened should be discovered. And as I told you, that girl was about 17 years old. Let's see what happened to her. Going back, the origin of this story dates back to approximately the year 2002. In the Giza Governorate, there was a man named Abbas who lived in a small neighborhood in the city with his family. There was also a young man named Karami, who was in his 20s. His family was well known and consisted of over a dozen people. Her friends used to say she was a very calm girl, with a good character and great beauty. I'm not sure if her name was Salwa. It happened that this girl passed near Karami, and he was someone who was always watching and observing her. Karami's heart became deeply attached to her, and he thought to himself, how can I get this girl? He decided to go to her house and propose to her for marriage. Since he and his family were well known, he assumed his request would not be rejected. However, the girl's family rejected his proposal. They told him that he was unemployed, someone who sat around all day, and they wanted someone who could provide for their daughter and take responsibility. They told him, find a job, save some money, and then come back to us. Karami felt very insulted and tried to convince them by saying he would work. But the girl's family was not convinced by his words. They told him their daughter deserved someone better. Feeling deeply angry and humiliated, he arrived at their house one day with his father for a final attempt. But unfortunately, the door was once again closed in his face. The girl's father stated clearly that he would not give his daughter to a man without a job or a future. He asked Kurami tough questions about how he would support her and where they would live. But Kurami had no satisfactory answers. It was clear that the father was worried about his daughter's future and did not see Kurami as a suitable match. Kurami felt humiliated, and it became apparent to him that he would never be given the girl he loved. Although he tried to explain that he would change, the girl's family would not listen. Her father said firmly, "I cannot entrust my daughter to a man who has never worked a single day." When Kurami's father realized that nothing could be gained from the girl's family, he grew angry and left the house. Kurami also left the house in a state of rage and sorrow, harboring the thought that he would not let this matter go. On the other hand, the girl herself was feeling great pressure. Whenever the topic of marriage or Kurami was brought up, she would remain silent out of shyness. But it was clear she was worried about the situation. Kurami thought to himself, if I can convince the girl to pressure her family, maybe they will agree, because he believed that she loved him. If the father had compromised a little with Kurami, perhaps the girl would have been convinced that he was the man for her life. But the father refused and stood by his decision. Kurami, on his part, felt that the girl's family had humiliated him and his family, which created a deep resentment and thoughts of revenge. The girl tried to convince her father to give Kurami a chance, but her father responded harshly. He told her, "Do you want me to give you to a man with no job who will ruin your life? A beautiful girl like you deserves an honorable man who can take responsibility." The situation became complicated. It started to appear to Kurami that he would never get the girl unless he used force or some other tactic. There were friends who incited him to do something, instead of just sitting there while being humiliated. The girl's father decided to find her another suitor to end this matter, but the girl refused. She insisted that she wanted Kurami, and this led to a major conflict between her and her family. No one knew that this conflict would lead to a great tragedy that would affect everyone living in the neighborhood. After the girl faced rejection from her family, she and Kurami began to communicate secretly. He convinced her that there was no other way for them to be together unless she took action. Kurami was constantly instilling the idea in her mind that her family was the only thing standing in the way of their happiness. It became clear that Kurami was planning something different from what the girl imagined. He didn't just want marriage. He wanted to show his power to the girl's family who had previously humiliated him. The girl started to distance herself from her father's home and show them that she was determined to be with Kurami, even if it meant cutting ties with her family. When the father saw his daughter's stubbornness, he tried to speak to her firmly, but she chose to follow the path Kurami had laid out for her. She told her family that she didn't want anyone else and that her life was tied to Kurami. A short time later, something happened that surprised everyone. The girl left her home without telling anyone, and it was discovered that she had eloped with Kurami. When her family realized their daughter had run off with the man they had rejected, they were overcome with shame and shock, and her father vowed to bring her back himself or put an end to this matter. Kurami married the girl he wanted, thinking he had achieved a great victory. But the reality was that their life together began, surrounded by anger and family conflict. After they had lived together for a while, Kurami's true character emerged. He began to treat the girl poorly, constantly reminding her that her family had initially looked down on him. The girl realized she had entered a trap she could not escape. The man she was willing to die for, and for whom she had turned against her family, became someone who made her life a living hell. Kurami remained unemployed and began selling everything she owned to get money for his own pleasures. When she tried to oppose him, he resorted to physical violence. One day, a very intense confrontation took place. The girl told Kurami that she wanted to return to her family, but he refused. He told her, "You're going nowhere. You are now chained to me." Kurami's rage reached a point where he could no longer control himself. That was when the ultimate tragedy occurred. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, Kurami inflicted injuries on the girl that led to her death. When he realized she was dead, instead of feeling remorse, he began thinking of ways to hide his crime. He decided to dismember her body to hide the pieces in trash bags, believing that he would never be caught. The story took place in a well-known area called Al-Manib. It was a place where people lived in peace until Kurami began to plan his actions. When Kurami revealed his true character, everyone living in the neighborhood felt fear. No one expected that the man they saw every day was capable of committing such an act. It was said that he always appeared quiet, but inside he was filled with rage and resentment toward the girl's family. The girl's father tried to protect his family's honor, believing that Kurami did not deserve his daughter. He would always say, "My daughter will not be a victim of someone with no future." However, Kurami saw those words as an insult and decided to show them that he held the power. The police investigation revealed facts even more shocking than previously thought. It was discovered that he had been planning for a long time how he would kill the girl if she defied him. This story became a lesson for many young people living in the Giza Governorate, showing where uncontrolled anger could lead. The girl did not always remain silent. She constantly dreamed of finding a peaceful life to share with the person she chose. Kurami, on his part, imagined himself as a hero fighting to win the person he loved. But in reality, his ambition was rooted in revenge. When the girl's family realized that their daughter had truly followed Kurami, they tried to talk to relatives to find a solution. However, the situation had reached a point of no return. The girl felt her father valued money and reputation more than her, while he believed he was protecting his daughter from a bleak future. A few months after the event, reports surfaced that Kurami had begun to regret what he did. But the people of the Al-Manib neighborhood were not convinced. They saw him as a cruel man who did not deserve sympathy. The police investigation later proved that he killed the girl in a premeditated manner, which led to a very severe sentence. This story served as a lesson for both parents and youth. It demonstrated the importance of resolving family conflicts through dialogue before they reach a point of bloodshed and destruction. To this day, the people of Giza remember this tragic event, considering it one of the saddest stories to ever take place in the province. Never learning a lesson from his past mistakes, he continued his behavior based on pride and cruelty. Kurami made life difficult for his wife, treating her as someone who only served him, which led to her experiencing psychological distress. It emerged that he always tried to isolate her from her family and friends so that he would be the only one controlling her life. Whenever the girl tried to escape his grasp, he would use threats, telling her that no one else would welcome or accept her. The situation reached a point where the girl maintained secret contact with her family to find some peace, fearing he would find out and harm her. Some neighbors reported hearing frequent shouting and arguments between the couple, but no one dared to intervene. Kurami believed he was superior to others and that his words were beyond debate. The girl eventually faced great despair, feeling there was no way out of this difficult situation. These recurring conflicts were indicators that a tragedy was imminent. Yet no one truly scrutinized the existing danger. Kurami was a very rigid man, and he insisted that everything happen exactly as he wanted, refusing to allow anyone else to interfere with his decisions. When the girl noticed his changed behavior, she tried to change his conduct, but she only faced more threats and pressure. It emerged that Kurami had begun to secretly monitor the girl's movements, even speaking with her friends to find out everything she did. As the situation escalated, the girl decided to leave the house and return to her family. But Kurami told her she could never escape his power. The girl's family tried to intervene to save their daughter, but Kurami was a man who knew no mercy and was prepared to cause any harm to achieve his goal. People who knew him stated that Kurami suffered from extreme pathological jealousy, which turned the girl's life into a living hell. The conflict that arose after the marriage led Kurami to treat the girl severely, viewing her as someone who should only take orders from him. The girl began to feel a sense of terror and tried to contact her family several times to tell them about the suffering she was experiencing. Kurami was constantly monitoring her movements and told her that if she tried to leave, he would never leave her family alone. When the situation worsened, the girl decided to leave the house without telling anyone. But unfortunately, Kurami was waiting in ambush. Neighbors reported seeing the girl looking very distressed, but no one directly intervened in the domestic conflict between her and Kurami. Later investigations revealed that Kurami had been planning revenge against the girl's family for a long time, using the girl as a weapon to damage their honor. When the situation reached a critical point, the girl realized that the life she chose was leading toward the ultimate tragedy. Karami constantly imagined himself as the one in the right, telling the girl that no one else would care for her if she left him. Relatives tried to intervene, but Karami made the relationship closed off, not allowing anyone to know the true reality existing within their home. The girl felt her life had become dark and began to lose the hope she had for a bright future. The conflict between the two parties became a daily occurrence, with Karami using excessive force to silence the girl. All these signs indicated that tragedy was not far off, but unfortunately, no one had the power to prevent it before blood was shed. As the story reaches a critical point, Karami began to suspect everyone around him, believing that they wanted to foil his plan. The girl tried to find an opportunity to leave the house, but every door was closed to her, and her life became confined within four walls. Those who knew Karami stated that he suffered from a pathological jealousy, which led him to view the girl as his personal property. It was reported that the day before the incident, Karami made a decision not to allow anyone to see the girl, which was the beginning of the tragic end. The girl's family, residing in Giza, tried to contact her several times, but Karami would always tell them she was busy or sleeping. This caused suspicion to grow, but unfortunately, no one was aware of the true danger the girl was in at that time. The police later discovered that Karami had prepared everything for his revenge, using extremely cruel methods. Karami was very secretive about his feelings, and most people saw him as an ordinary person, but his cruelty was fully revealed when he trapped the girl in the house. The girl tried several times to scream from the window for help, but Karami always used force to silence her, telling her that this was the punishment she deserved. It was discovered that he forbade the girl from even speaking to her family on the phone, causing her to be completely cut off from the rest of the world. The girl's family began to feel great suspicion when her absence grew long, but Karami would always send fake messages saying, "I am upset and cannot talk to anyone." The people of the Giza neighborhood reported that a day before the tragedy, they saw Karami buying black bags and other tools, which were later used in the shocking act. The police investigation showed that the act was highly planned, and he intended to erase every trace of himself. But fortunately, he did not escape justice. It became clear that Karami had long planned to isolate the girl from everyone important in her life, viewing it as the only way to gain total control over her. The girl felt her life had become isolated because Karami blocked all communication she had with the outside world, especially her closest friends. Whenever the girl tried to resist the abuse, Karami would threaten to cause great harm to her family, forcing her to comply out of fear. Neighbors reported that Karami presented himself outwardly as a calm and kind man, but inside his home, he was extremely cruel. The girl tried to send a secret message to her friend to get help, but Karami, who was very vigilant, became suspicious of her movements. The girl's life became a state of constant psychological distress, as she was always expecting the tragic event she feared to occur. The girl's relatives stated that they tried many times to contact Karami to find out about their daughter's condition, but he always avoided giving a clear answer. One of the girl's friends confirmed that she received a secret message from her saying, "Help me, my life is in danger." But unfortunately, that message came too late. The investigation showed that Karami was using the girl's phone to send fake messages to her family, pretending she wrote them so as not to cause suspicion. Those who knew Karami described him as a very cunning person who knew how to hide his true violent nature. When the police began questioning the neighbors, some said they saw Karami leaving the house on the night of the tragedy looking very agitated. The girl's father stated that he would never forgive Karami, as he had promised to take care of his daughter, but the end he brought upon her was shocking. Relatives and friends began searching everywhere for the girl, contacting Karami's friends, but they all claimed they didn't know where she was, causing great anxiety. No one knew where Karami was hiding or where he had taken his wife, and suspicion began to grow that the situation was worsening. Everyone was trying to get news about the girl, and it was reported that they spent a whole day searching every possible place they could be hiding. When Karami's friends were questioned, they said they thought he was inside the house. But it was later discovered that secret events were taking place within the home. It was reported that the girl had previously requested to be taken away from that man, telling her relatives that her life was in danger. But at the time, no one realized the severity. Karami mistreated anyone who tried to speak to him, even the girl's relatives who tried to intervene to improve their situation. As the situation reached a breaking point, everyone felt there was no other way to find the girl, as Karami had long since erased the tracks to their whereabouts. It emerged that Karami received an amount of £95,000, a significant sum obtained from suspicious sources to carry out his subsequent plans. Investigations showed that this money was used to rent a car and other equipment for the crime, to avoid raising suspicion about his movements. One witness stated that they saw Karami sitting in that car near the girl's house, looking like someone waiting for something. Police successfully obtained CCTV footage showing Karami carrying various items on the night the tragedy occurred. It was confirmed that there was another individual assisting Karami with logistics and providing information, who is now under investigation to determine their role. The girl's relatives stated they never knew Karami possessed such a large sum of money, which increased suspicions that the crime was highly organized. It emerged that Karami began posing as a victim, attempting to convince people that the entire trouble originated from the girl's family, but witnesses debunked his claims. The investigation revealed a severe dispute over property, which further fueled Karami's anger, leading him to decide on a cruel revenge. One of the girl's close friends stated that she had previously warned her friend about Karami's violent tendencies, but the girl believed he would change. Police confirmed finding threatening messages Karami sent to the girl before the incident, which served as evidence that the crime was premeditated. It was discovered that Karami attempted to flee after committing the act, but the vigilance of security forces enabled his capture while he was trying to leave the city. Local residents reported that when Karami was apprehended, he appeared unrepentant about his actions, shocking everyone present. A shocking truth emerged, revealing that Karami had long led a double life, posing as a loving family man while being a dangerous criminal behind the scenes. The girl's relatives stated that they later discovered Karami had connections with other criminals who assisted him in planning his distorted acts. Police confirmed finding evidence inside the house showing a major dispute over documents and property belonging to the girl, which was the actual motive for the crime. One witness confirmed that Karami had previously threatened the girl, saying he would eliminate her if she tried to contact the police or expose his secrets. It was discovered that on the night of the tragedy, there were numerous phone calls between Karami and an unidentified person, indicating the crime was not committed alone. The girl's father stated that he now understands why his daughter appeared so sad in recent months, as she was too afraid to tell him the truth. Karami attempted to pretend he was mentally unstable or one of the victims to escape punishment, but medical examinations confirmed he is healthy and was fully aware of his actions. The police investigation revealed the presence of a third person who was assisting Karami in planning the crime, who is now being sought to be brought to justice. It was confirmed that the £95,000 was used to rent the car and the secret house where the crime was executed, which served as evidence that everything was premeditated. The girl's relatives demanded that no mercy ever be shown to the criminal, stating that the harm he caused is something they can never recover from. One of the witnesses stated that they saw Karami attempting to erase bloodstains inside the car before he was apprehended. The victim's attorneys stated they have additional evidence showing that Karami had previously committed similar crimes in other cities, which were hidden from the girl's family. The final message found on the girl's phone was directed to her brother, in which she was pleading for immediate help as she felt she was in great danger. It was confirmed that one of Karami's close friends discovered the crime after seeing blood and suspicious traces, but initially remained silent out of fear. The investigation revealed that the girl had attempted to escape several times, but Karami consistently blocked her. Using threats and psychological pressure, Karami admitted to telling the girl he would pay £200,000 to eliminate anyone who tried to help her, demonstrating the extent of his madness. Phone record investigations showed constant communication between suspected of assisting in the planning of the crime. The girl's relatives declared they would never give up seeking justice, demanding that both the criminal and his accomplices face the harshest punishment. It was confirmed that Karami obtained £95,000, which he used to rent a black Kia Cerrado to carry out his plan. Appearing highly agitated before the incident occurred, attempted to erase all traces, indicating where he rented the vehicle. It emerged that Karami even tried to change the car's color or remove the license plates to avoid identification, but these attempts failed. Those familiar with the rented vehicle confirmed finding highly suspicious items inside that appeared intended to conceal the crime. Karami later admitted that the £95,000 was part of a larger scheme to completely flee the country after executing his act. It emerged that Karami began to gradually cut off his contact with the girl's friends, eventually blocking their phones entirely so that no one could know the true situation inside the house. The investigation showed that the girl had tried to send a message to her brother to tell him that Karami had rented a special vehicle, which she saw as a danger sign, but unfortunately, Karami found the phone before the message was sent. One of the witnesses stated that they heard loud shouting and noise coming from the house on the night of the tragedy, but when they tried to knock on the door, Karami told them that everything was fine. Police found evidence showing that Karami had prepared bags and materials used to hide the remains of the crime, further reinforcing that the act was highly organized. It was confirmed that Karami used fake names when renting the black Kia Cerrado, attempting to ensure his tracks would never be found. The girl's relatives confirmed they later discovered that Karami had hidden the girl's birth documents and passports so there would be no way for her to escape the house. It emerged that Karami began planning how to completely eliminate any trace showing the girl's existence, using chemicals and equipment he had previously purchased. The investigation showed that there was an attempt to burn parts of the house to make the crime look like a fire accident, but that plan failed due to poor execution. One of the neighbors confirmed seeing Karami moving large items out of the house just a few hours after the tragedy, appearing to be in a great hurry. Police successfully located the tools used in the crime hidden far from the house, proving that Karami attempted to mislead the investigation. It was discovered that Karami had prearranged an escape ticket to travel abroad, waiting only to finalize the situation at the house. The girl's friends stated they noticed a major change in Karami's behavior in recent weeks, as he became very suspicious and trusted no one. It emerged that Karami began pretending he himself was in danger, attempting to convince people that a gang of criminals had kidnapped the girl. The investigation showed that Karami had pre-prepared another location to hide if the house was discovered, showing his fear of being easily apprehended. One of the girl's friends confirmed she received a suspicious call from Karami, in which he asked if anyone else knew about their conflict. Police declared they found items belonging to the girl's property that Karami attempted to sell to fund his escape. It was confirmed that Karami had long harbored a state of hatred toward the girl's relatives, viewing them as obstacles in his life. The girl's brother stated he now feels he failed to protect the girl from Karami, repeatedly vowing to fight for justice. It emerged that Karami had pre-prepared a secret house located outside the city, where he planned to hide for a long period after executing his act. The investigation showed that there was an attempt to mislead the police by creating false leads suggesting that the girl had left the country of her own accord. One witness confirmed seeing Karami carrying large bags just hours before the tragedy was discovered, appearing very alert and scanning his surroundings. Police found new tools and materials hidden inside the house, believed to be part of the escape plan Karami had prepared. It was confirmed that Karami had previously purchased several simple mobile phones to avoid using his official phone, which could be used to track his location. The girl's relatives noted they felt Karami started avoiding family gatherings in recent weeks, always presenting various excuses. It was confirmed that the girl had pre-prepared a secret message describing the danger she felt, which is now serving as powerful testimony against Kurami. The final investigation revealed that Kurami attempted to erase the data from the girl's phone, but technical experts succeeded in recovering all recent communications. It was discovered that Kurami had pre-planned to flee the country the same night the tragedy occurred, having rented another vehicle to use for his escape. The girl's relatives declared they now feel some sense of relief since the criminal has been apprehended, yet they still demand the highest form of justice. One of the police officers confirmed that this case was the most difficult they had encountered, given the technical way Kurami tried to conceal the crime. Kurami is now awaiting the final sentence, with the evidence against him being beyond doubt and demonstrating his cruelty.